Sure.
Keep doing that.
Yes.
Thank you. I'm Bob Bruns, the Chair of the Zoning Board of Appeals, and I'll be leading this meeting tonight with the help of my colleagues. And just to start off, I'd like to explain the procedures we're going to follow as we proceed through each case. I'll introduce the case to be heard and name the board members who will be seated on the case. This will be followed by a presentation by the applicant or the applicant's agent, covering the nature of the case and the reasons for the requesting either a special permit or a variance. Following that, board members may ask questions of the applicant or the applicant's agent regarding the aspects of the case. At any point in this discussion, the applicant may request a continuance to make revisions to their application or may withdraw the application entirely. When board members have finished with their questions, we'll open the meeting up to the abutters and any other interested members of the public to hear their questions or concerns, and the applicant or their agent may respond to them. I'll then close the public discussion and will facilitate discussion amongst the board members with a reading of our findings of facts and conditions that apply to the case. The board will then vote to approve or deny the application. So with that, why don't we get started on our first case? Case number ZBA 23-09. The address is 960 Massasoit Road, map 5, parcel 169. Billingsgate Landing Association, represented by William Kelly, parentheses applicants / appellates, abutters to 960 Massasoit Road, seeking an appeal pursuant to Massachusetts General Law, Chapter 40A, Section 8 and 15 of the issuance of building permit -23-501 by the building commissioner for construction of an exterior second floor egress stairway for a residential structure located at 960 Massasoit Road, where the appellate contends that the building permit was issued without adequate regulatory review and due process. So with that being said, seated on this case will be Bob Sheldon, Brian Ridgway, Joanne Verlinden, Marty Ridge, and myself, Bob Bruns. Jared will be here as an alternate. Our alternates participate in everything about the discussion. And
Bob,
Yes, sir.
I do need to
Oh.
recuse myself from this case.
I apologize. Sheldon will not be on this case. Jared will, rather than an alternate, will be a voting member of this particular case. But I was going to say our alternates do everything except vote. In this case, Jared, you're on board. So that's who's seated. And now I'd like to hear from the applicant. If you will, sir, introduce yourself and tell us what's going on.
Sure. Yeah, before we get started, my name's Bill Kelly. We're here to talk about a large exterior staircase. That's my understanding, building permit 23-501. I'm here representing the Billingsgate Landing Association. We are 3 homeowners on North Massasoit Road. We're appealing a 960 Massasoit Road staircase built without a permit. We're appealing the after the fact permit itself due to a breakdown of new construction regulatory review. The new exterior stairway constructed under the radar close to an encroaching setback where the homeowner talks with no one, in our view, was not acceptable. Our due process, we feel, was denied. There was no bylaw verification. We questioned the staircase, the design, the location, the setback. To this day, we've heard no response. I do want to thank the ZBA. I've found this process instructive. I learn about the city. I think we learn about our neighbors. I think it's very positive what you're doing. We did hear some grumbling that is not up to us, that why would we ask for the same consideration as everybody else? And after the fact permit, in my view, has been found to lack some honesty. It was rushed. It was insufficient. The homeowner talked with no one, not to the town, not to the neighbors. the town bylaws and public rights were ignored. A site plan or design plan could or should have been supplied and required. This behavior disrespected the town and the community and the review process. If we were having this meeting right now in our backyard, it would be clear and obvious to everyone here that the staircase has violated our privacy. This is our outside spot. I think you're all familiar with the area. We're on North Massasoit Road. We can take a look at the pictures. I'd be happy to go through what I know about them. And then I'd like to talk a little bit about my understanding on the zoning criteria. But first, picture number one, which previously published, this is actually a street front view. And this photo here shows it's actually from Massasoit Road. It does show the staircase as it comes out the gable end side of the house. I'm not a zoning expert, but to my mind, the staircase is large compared to the mass of the house. Even with properties that have more of a use for them, we're wondering why was it needed right there? It does from our point of view, it does go right into the middle of the side yard of the applicant at 960. With our property, that's to our backyard. And it did, in our mind, a little bit of unnecessary intensification of use in that area. So that's all I have on that, the first photo.
Excuse me, Mr.
Sure.
Kelly.
Yes.
Let me just interrupt you, and I do want you to continue, please. Something I want to make sure is on the record. I have known Mr. LaPierre for probably at least 10 years. And the reason I know him is because I'm not even sure how we got introduced, but I had hired him to plow my driveway, snow plow my driveway way back in the day when we used to have snow. That's, and he probably came 2 or 3 times over the course of a couple of years. And it's been, I'm guessing 8 to 10 years since we've ever had that kind of relationship. So I want to make sure that I disclose that. And I really feel that I can be completely objective on this case. Just because of that information, that relationship. It's a small town.
It is. Yeah.
Mr. LaPierre used to be one of the managers of the Eastham Superette many moons ago. So I'm sure you've all bumped into him in one way, shape, or form. The other thing I wanted to make you aware of, or at least stress, was that the jurisdiction and purview of this board is really all about the setbacks.
Mm-hmm.
So we can sympathize or not, it's personal preference, with privacy issues, appearance issues, but that's not within our purview to make rulings on. We're really concerned about, in this case, setbacks from the property line, and in all cases, the height of any type of a structure. Those are the black and white items that we need to focus on. And a lot of these other things all of these other things are not within our ability to make a ruling for or against your thinking.
Sure.
Just want to make sure you're aware of that. So please feel free to continue, but recognize how this board is going to react to the facts about that you're saying. And really, we're focusing on the setbacks.
Sure, Chairman Bruns, that helps. I understand that there's a focus. So thanks for that. Great. Let's go on. I'll carry on. And photo 2, just so you're aware, this is the abutter's backyard. This is the side of the Billingsgate Landing residences. This is just taken from the middle of the backyard. It does show the staircase from the middle of the backyard. There is a row of cedar trees there. There's some breaks in the cedars. There's some coverage in the cedars, and this is showing that it does have a detrimental impact to the view and the vista due to the placement of the second-story stair. The next photo, number 3, is similar. However, I think all we want to gain from this photo 3 is that the detrimental impact to the residences that we are in carries on to the indoors. This photo again shows the new construction, but it shows it framed by a bedroom window.
Excuse me, sir.
Yes.
Mr. Bruns just noted that that's not something that we can deal with.
Okay.
You're talking about the privacy that you feel has been invaded or compromised
Sure,
somehow.
sure.
But that's not what this appeal that is about. The appeal that you filed has to do with whether or not that stairway is set within the sideline or back setback
Setback.
areas.
Right, right.
So it's not a valid point to bring up at this juncture.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thanks for that. One question I did have is in the normal design review process, who would determine the setback? Who would do the measurement? When would that become knowledge?
What I'd like to do, and Mr. Kelly, it feels like
Sure.
we're interrupting you too much,
Oh,
but
that's okay.
this may help clarify. I'd like our building commissioner to describe his process for approving, disapproving. Now, granted, this did not come in the right sequence. Okay, this particular piece of construction on this house had no permit pulled. But I'd like Jason to talk to Justin, excuse me, to talk to the team about, how these decisions get made.
Okay, thank
I
you.
think it might be enlightening.
Okay, great.
Hi, Justin Post, building inspector.
Sorry, Justin.
So normally we get a building permit in for anything like this, a stairway, a door, whatever comes out of the house. And we issue a building permit.
Excuse me, Justin, can you speak just a little slower and get a little closer to the mic for me? Yeah, thank you. Sorry. I'm just very hard of hearing and my ears are old.
Okay.
Thank you.
This particular building permit should have been pulled sooner, but they did get it in order. Normally, for something like this, a stairway, $400 in wood. I gave this building permit to finish building a stairway. The way to confirm your setbacks is get a survey and just have it delineated so we're, have it staked out or something by the surveyor. They can tell exactly where it's at. But for $400 in wood, it's expensive for a $4,000 survey, but this may be the setback, but we don't know that.
Any other questions, Mr. Kelly, for Justin?
No, I'm sorry. I heard the part, Justin, that
Excuse me, I'm sorry, I could not hear that explanation. I'm a dial-in attendee.
We
Get a survey to confirm that it meets the setback.
It does
Confirm.
meet setback, is that what you're saying?
Well, the owner will have to get a surveyor to determine that.
Could the speaker identify herself, please?
Yes, my name is Anita Salvatore. I am part of Billingsgate Landing Condo Association.
Thank you.
Justin, I have a question for you. So when the permit is pulled, whose job is it to verify that we're within setbacks?
Usually it's the owner's job to get a survey to verify that it's in setbacks if it's a substantial structure that couldn't be altered easily. I think in this case, it's a small structure, so it can be altered to meet the setback easily.
Okay, so we've interrupted you
no.
twice.
And thanks, Anita, for
Thanks.
mentioning that. So Justin, my understanding is that there's no site survey now, but there could be one.
Right.
Is what you're saying?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Okay, and.
There's no plot plan showing where the buildings are. The house that the stairway is attached to, where the fence is, where the setbacks are. There is no plot plan that we have been given so far. And Mr. Post, I don't think has one either.
Okay. No, that is something that would help us, and I would encourage that as an outcome. So, yeah. Okay. Okay. Great.
So when you bought your homes over there,
Yes.
did you get a plot plan? So it would show the boundaries on your plot plan.
Yes, sir. We did, let's see, Tim Klink was our builder, and we did get several site surveys. We've, subsequently used them to help guide whatever we could do on our front and backyards.
So when the fence was put up, was it put up on the property line?
Yes, sir. The fence, and Dave and Amanda are here. The fence was built before I arrived, and I believe Mr. Lapierre put in the white fence between the church property and 960 Massasoit. We put in some more cedar fencing more between 930, 940. And
That's
also
not my
correct.
question. My question was, is that fence that's there on the property line, so it could be used as a boundary measurement to the staircase?
I believe it's very close to
Close?
the property line. Yes,
Thank you. Just
Yeah. that's a good question.
So let me just
data.
jump in. I measured that from the fence to the structure itself, to the pad and the stringer going up for the stairs. And it's almost exactly 22 feet. So that doesn't tell us much, but if we knew that the fence was inside the property line,
Which side though?
on the 960 side. So if the property line was, closer to Mr. Kelly's residence and the fence was done inside, then, and let's pretend that we had 28 feet as that measurement, then we would probably have a pretty good idea without a plot plan that it was conforming to the setback requirement of 25 feet. But we don't have a plot plan and we don't know where the boundary is. We don't know where that line really exists. If you had something
Mhm.
that would show that, we might be able to avoid a large expense for Mr. Lapierre to go out and actually get a plot plan. But I think our decision on what to do here largely depends on that number.
Mhm.
Whether it's at least 25 feet. And in order to determine that, it would be great if Mr. Lapierre didn't have to spend an inordinate amount of money. And the only reason we say that is because we're all neighbors here.
Right.
If there's a way to figure that out, that would be great. If not, then, we may want to require that.
Sure. I'm sorry that maybe I'm a little slow. The 22 feet.
22 feet is the actual distance that I measured from the fence to the staircase.
Okay, I see.
And if it was 25 feet or more, and we were very confident that the fence itself was within his property line, then we would be very confident that he was complying with the setback regulation of 25 feet or
I see.
more. But we don't know that now. All we
Right.
know is that to the fence and the stairway is 22 feet.
Sure. I mean, Anita, Billingsgate Landing we're representing. I have two other members to talk to, but Anita, we could bring that up as far as sharing what we have with the ZBA, which is, I know we have some renderings that show the entire campus, and I know we have some
Yes.
that focus on the building itself, Anita. I probably today could find some PDF renderings and send them to you. Anita, we might need to
Yes.
vote on, right? Right.
So
Yep.
for example,
Yep,
if,
that works.
go ahead, please.
Go ahead, Anita.
No, I was just agreeing. I'm so sorry. I was just agreeing with Bill. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
That's fine. So if we knew, for example, Mr. Kelly, that, and we saw on a plot plan that was, certified by a surveyor, that there was 10 feet or whatever, 20 feet between your backyard, your structure and the property line, then we could find that property line and measure it and be
Mhm.
pretty accurate as to whether or not Mr. Lapierre was conforming to the requirement.
I will look at what we have, and I think I could do that fairly quickly. My understanding, and maybe I should let the document speak for itself. I think the fence was within half foot of the property line, if that helps at this juncture.
It's
But
it's all speculation at
It
this
is.
point.
I agree with you.
And
Yeah.
so with that said, is this something that if you're willing to dig for that and we could show that to the planning group, go ahead, please. Is that going to not
So I,
be acceptable?
I guess if you don't mind, I just
Go ahead,
want to
Paul.
back up. I think,
Go
because
ahead.
I think we're going down a rabbit hole that we don't need to.
Go ahead, please.
Justin, I'm going to speak for Justin, and I just asked him and he said that's okay. So, the question earlier about the process,
Yeah, you're
it's the
right.
responsibility of the property owner when they take on a construction project to make sure that they're doing it within the setbacks and provide that information to the building commissioner. That's usually going to mean supply a plot plan. The building commissioner under the state building code has the discretion to issue building permits utilizing the information he's given as he sees fit. So I won't, beyond my, that's not my purview. I'm not going to quote the building code, but he has some discretion to issue within how he issues building permits. In this case, it was issued after the fact. I think what you were hearing Justin say is that we try to work to everyone's benefit to be reasonable and make judgment calls on what's reasonable given the scope of the project. So Justin issued the building permit without a formal site plan to confirm the setbacks. He used his judgment and the discretion which is afforded to him with the building permit, building code. What is really at play here is this board needs to make a determination whether in this particular case that building permit was issued, and for lack of a better term, an error, and that a site plan should have been supplied. And if that's the case, then it's the responsibility of the owners at 960 Massasoit to supply that information to Justin and verify the setbacks. So I appreciate the discussion, and that we're all trying to help each other and take the burden off of everybody, but really it's not the applicant's responsibility to do that. And really it's not going to get us anywhere, because at the end of the day, we need a site plan that shows the building, the property bounds of Mr. Lapierre's property. And so even if we start to back our way into another site plan, it really doesn't solve
Yeah,
the
I
issue. So
understand. So,
that's where the board, I would recommend the board kind of
so
goes there.
even if we go down that road and bless you, and we consider things like that, then what we're really doing as we had discussed is ruling on whether or not we overturn Justin's ruling, or we say Justin's ruling should stand. And I understand that's really what this application is driving at.
And if we deny the building permit, then there's two options that are going to happen. The owners of 960 will get a plot plan, and they'll determine that either the house is or isn't have the proper setbacks. It's going to be plus or minus 2 feet, let's say. And then the two options will be whether he reconfigures the stairs. Doesn't seem like he's going to have a problem making 1 or 2 feet difference here. Or he comes to ZBA for a variance. And if he comes to ZBA for a variance, it's likely that a lot of people will see this as not a big hindrance coming 1 or 2 feet closer. So the options are, I don't see the stairway going away. I see the stairway either getting reconfigured or coming for a ZBA. And I think it's up to the applicant to decide if they continue with this case, then we'll take a vote. And they'll have to go down the other path of hiring an engineer. Or if you withdraw the case, and then we all go home. Well, we don't all go home, but that closes the case. But
I'm not sure, you suggested a variance. I'm not sure that the homeowner could prove hardship there,
Well, it's really
or
would it
the-
be a special permit.
or the
we can.
the land itself is a problem. I mean, if the land is not a problem, I don't think.
Yeah.
The placement of the staircase is.
So if the only solution is reconfigure the stairway.
Yeah.
Stairway is only going to change by 2 to 3 feet.
That landing looks like it's about 3 feet square. The two landings looks to me like it's about 3 feet square. So if,
I'm not going to re-engineer the stairway right now, but I don't see a dramatic change like the stairway. I don't foresee the stairway moving to the other side of the building or reconfiguring the building
No,
to
I'm
get
just
rid of the
think-
stairway.
I'm just
I'm just saying
thinking,
reality is the stairs are gonna stay there.
but I'm thinking take the landings out and put the stairway right against the
Yeah,
back
I
wall of
don't,
the
yeah, I don't want to
house.
get into
You're
proposed
engineer.
solutions.
I'm engineering, yes.
So I have a question for you, sir.
Mm.
Does the 3 feet that big a deal? Because the privacy issue seen through, none of that matters to us. This is not within our purview. So we measured today and it's 22 feet, so it's obviously not in the setback, correct?
Oh, it's
By
close.
3
It's
feet.
close. We can,
It's
we
close.
shouldn't determine whether it is or
I'm
isn't.
just
We don't
saying,
know.
if I may.
Yeah. Sure.
Because I was there watching it and I saw the tape, so I
Yeah.
know that data for the fence was 22 feet.
We don't know. Yeah.
So that's an issue, okay? If in fact that then says that he's not within compliant with the setbacks, the only choice would be to move it 3 feet towards the. And is that really gonna solve your problem? Because it's still gonna be there. And if your issue is really privacy is what I keep hearing, it's like, what is your resolution? What do you suggest you do as a good neighbor?
Yeah, I'm surprised actually at the measurement. I had no idea. So I suppose we've come down the road this far. We should think about it for a little bit. It's been a couple months already. This is kind of new information. I think that where I was going to go in the discussion is that if we had had an opportunity to do the site plan in order, maybe have a discussion on the type of staircase, we would have preferred a little bit more of a traditional design, one that didn't move into the field quite as much. I mean, I'm definitely like the idea of talking about a workaround, but I'm one of 3, so I probably need to talk to the association. Does that help?
Well, it
It's your-
sounds like we're,
So,
it
Mr.
sounds like
Chair.
we could be looking for a continuance.
That's what I'm thinking, is that you should continue and decide what you would like to do as neighbors and try and work that out.
But
Go ahead, Paul.
Because it's your case, it's not
Mhm.
Mr. Lapierre's.
It's
Okay.
just a bit more information on the process. So the issue of impact on the neighbors only comes into play if and when a project has to come before the board. Because normally, so if this stairwell was determined to be within the setback from the start, there's no board review required. So the permit gets issued and the owner builds the staircase and that's really it. So there is no formal opportunity for neighbors to kind of weigh in on the project
Right.
like that. So that's where we kind of rely on, neighbors talking to each other and kind of resolving it amicably, but there is no, so it's only in the case where it has to come to a board where then it gets opened up to the board's criteria and it, you can look at the impact on the neighbors. It kind of opens up the whole
Right.
box about, and then that, the project can kind of get shaped that way, but
Right.
so to bring this back to if the owner of the property decides to just verify the setbacks, move the staircase within the setbacks, that's the end of it as far as the board's concerned. There's no chance to review and discuss. It's just get, reissue the, reissue the building permit and that's it. So I just want to make sure the expectations are set that, again, once you determine if you need this, if there is a setback issue, then it's up to the applicant. If he wants to keep that there, he's gonna have to apply for a variance, which is gonna be a high bar to meet, or he's just gotta take apart the staircase and reconfigure it to meet the setbacks. But there's no formal review where the neighbors get to weigh in on the project and that.
Or
and
the
that-
appearance. Right.
Yeah, so get that back to the point. At the end of the day, there could be to Brian's point, at the end of the day, things are confirmed, it's within the setback, there's still a staircase there, that's still basically what's there now, it's just meets the setback. It's not gonna be an opportunity to discuss the privacy issue in this forum.
It seems to me the simplest, most straightforward approach to this whole problem would be to get a plot plan. So we know where the setbacks are, we know how close the fence is to the setback, and we know where that staircase is in regards to setbacks.
I would say yes, if this continues on this trajectory, but to get back to what the point that was about to be made. If the applicant, I guess that's a decision you can make whether at the end result may very well be, you're going to be looking at the same thing. So if 2 or 3 feet adjustment is going to be a difference, like, so you could pursue this knowing that the end result isn't going to change, or you could, I guess, just to be totally honest, you could just withdraw the application. And that would basically be acquiescing to the original permit was issued through Justin's discretion, and the whole thing just.
And I think Mr. Kelly, I'm with you, Paul. I think Mr. Kelly was saying that he doesn't want to make that decision for his association unilaterally, which is why I brought up the whole idea of a continuance.
Yeah, I don't know if I can on my
No,
own,
I understand that. Yeah, you gotta verify.
the way the association would work.
Aren't the other people on the line with you?
Yes, sir. We have,
that are the
Anita's
owner?
on the line. The third member is not on the line. So,
But I guess to recap, we all agree that the white fence belongs to the owners of 960. As you said, they installed it. That's the assumption
that's my
we're going with.
understanding.
So that at worst case, what we're assuming from the information we have is that there could be a 2 to 3 foot variance violation here. So that's what we're saying is if we
Yes.
go through this entire process, that's the relief that's potentially at the end of the process is the deck gets reconfigured to be 2 or 3 feet further from the fence.
Right.
So I'm just saying, as long as you understand that that's the best outcome that you have,
Sure. No,
then you can decide with your co-applicants what to do.
Absolutely. No, I
You may,
understand that.
and the options are then to withdraw or to push forward and bringing it forward to us as a violation that, and we would require some type of a plot plan or some way to prove that, you know, whatever
That's
the,
only after we go.
well,
Sure.
yeah, that's exactly right. I mean, assuming that you were able to, you know, you guys wanted to pursue this and continue it, that's what we would do. We would have to
Sure.
go down that path.
Chairman, as of today, I read the staff report. And are we gonna go as far as we can on that today?
It's entirely up to you you, at any time, you can withdraw the application or you can request a continuance, at which point we would not go any further with the findings of fact and because it requires a hearing with further information. The information would be
The plot plan.
exactly, well, not yet. The further information is really your decision as to whether or not to go forward.
Absolutely. I mean, my initial thinking, I'd have to get with the other trustees and the association. Initially, we were wanting clarity. We were requesting some type of engineering detail, which today's, thank you, we're getting the first of that. I think that I don't know how much a site plan costs, how much of a burden it is. We're aware that it's something, and we would like to see what we're dealing with instead of not knowing. I will like to meet with the association to talk it over with them. Obviously, we can get with our neighbors, the LaPierres who are here, which is great. And there might be something we can do with the three of us and the neighbors, but I'm not sure at this point. So I would say, I read with interest number 7, 8, and 9 under the proposed findings of fact. And it sounds to me like what we have today is some additional facts. And, I would request as the applicant, the appealer, is that if we could enlarge the findings of fact, and I think it would help me if I could get 1 or 2 more line items based on what we talked about today, and then my association can go through it and it won't take. us
Such
that
as
long.
what?
It sounds
I don't
complicated.
understand what other conditions are you
Uh,
talking
well, we
about
just found out that
specifically?
there was a measurement today, Brian, the first time I heard that number. So.
Well, I measured it and I can show you the picture that I took.
Oh, great.
if you'd
Sure,
like.
take a look.
So basically, it's 3 feet. So,
So-
so, and I think what.
Well, am I allowed to do that, Paul?
You can, but I guess just,
It's
these are not verifiable
No, they're not.
numbers, so I wouldn't,
We were there and we measured.
so
Brian, and I had coincident, Mr. Kelly, we've all seen the property. Okay, a part of what we do is we go and look at what we're adjudicating. And I'll just let you know without any, it's on my phone.
Yeah.
It was 22, almost 22 feet exactly. So I thought Marty said it pretty well, considering what's going on here, we're probably gonna end up with a 1 or a 2 foot difference in
Or
whether,
three, if-
well,
Or 3.
25.
it's possible,
Minus
but
22.
I would, or 3. Let's just leave it at that.
Sure.
No more than that.
Yeah, that this is
That's correct.
it's out of compliance
I
with
agree.
the setback regulation of 25 feet. And then the issue becomes, is that worth all the time and trouble to move that staircase another 2 to 3, whatever, 1, 2, or 3 feet,
Sure.
north? And if that's what you have decided you want to pursue, then that's what we'll go down that path with this particular hearing.
Mr. Chair, can I speak?
Yes, sir.
So, in my opinion, is that it's really setting up for bad neighborhood for you.
Mhm.
And 3 feet closer to the house, you're still gonna have the same structure. You can't take that structure and change it. It's not in the purview of a neighbor to do that, as long as Mr. Lapierre is within the setbacks, which you would then requesting he would have to move 3 feet closer to the house. You have the same issue, you have the same product there. So I guess what I'm thinking is, why go down all of that? I mean, I love your report. I think it was well thought out, but so much of it is not under our purview. The only thing that we can do are setbacks. So everything else that you may or may not like about the staircase doesn't really matter.
It's still gonna be there.
It's still gonna be
Sure.
there.
No, I understand.
So, and
I
it's gonna,
understand.
and it's not, and I went in your property and I looked through the trees from the front of the house and I barely could see it. So if it's in the backyard, I didn't go in your backyard,
Sure.
because I.
We could go now, but yeah, sure, yeah.
May I offer a suggestion?
Yes, yes.
Well, I'm not finished. Charlie.
Okay, I'm sorry.
Oh, go ahead,
So,
Brian.
so the point is that I think you should get together. I would recommend you do a continuance so you can sit down with your board and
Yes.
discuss that, knowing that this is the reality. And then decide if you want to pursue that Mr. Lapierre should move the stairwell 3 feet. Then he has to get someone like J.C. Ellis out there to find out where the boundary is, make sure, measure, put a stake down and move it.
Absolutely.
That's it.
I would like to add my second to what Brian just said. I think a simple, straightforward path for you and the other homeowners in your association there would be to just sit down, the 3 of you first of all together, and see how much of a vested interest you have in moving that staircase or reconfiguring it or whatever, and then sitting down with your neighbor and see what all of you can work out together. And if it turns out that you want to come back to us and ask for more, that's within your right. Asking, the continuance allows you to do that. It also allows you to, if you decide together with your neighbor and the other 2 owners in your association, if you all together decide it's not worth it, then you just let us know and you withdraw the continuance without, and there's no prejudice,
Sure.
no pressure anywhere.
No, I agree. I did, any other comments thank you for that so far.
I think the last point to me, I think communication is, I think a little bit more planting, or maybe it gets stained gray. I think there's a lot of solutions that help both sides that are less expensive than going through the engineering and the legality of having another meeting with an actual site plan and so forth. So I think a more constructive way would be to add to the screening issue as opposed to
Instead of
rebuilding the deck
Mhm.
36 inches further from the property
Sure.
line. my point.
Anything else, Jared?
I'm in complete agreement with the board and all of the recommendations and advice that they've given here.
Sure, sure. No, from Anita, from my understanding is that if we request a continuance at this point, then we'll have time. I'll have time to get clarity with the homeowners. I'll also have time to get with David, Amanda.
You have another month. We have to
Yeah.
have a date certain, which means that
Right.
we would be back with you. If you want to pursue this, we would be back with you in the December meeting. If you decide,
Oh, in December.
yes, that gives you 30 days.
30
If
days.
you and the other people decide that you want to drop your case here,
Sure.
then you just let us know, and there's no bad feelings. There's nothing that happens. It's called without prejudice. And you just cancel the
Withdraw.
withdrawal,
Okay,
cancel and withdraw.
sure.
Mr. Chairman?
Yeah.
Can I speak for a second?
Sure, Mr. LaPierre.
So, years ago, I put up that fence for privacy because I didn't know what type of.
I'm so sorry, I can't hear. This is Anita Salvatore again. I'm so sorry, I cannot hear.
Thanks.
So, years ago, I put up that privacy fence because I wasn't sure what was gonna happen with the church, because I was there along with the church for many years. Now I'm gonna do it. I'm gonna have it surveyed. But if I do it and I'm 2 feet on my property, I'm gonna have to move the fence closer to the condos. It's just a thought. But everybody should keep that in mind as well.
Sure.
Because fences make good neighbors, I thought. I do that for a living, so that's what I thought was gonna be best. So anyway, I just wanted to put my 2 cents in, and the stairs are always gonna be there. If I have to move it a little bit, I will do that. That's not a problem. I like Martin's ideas. It was good.
I'll say one point is that there's 9 steps coming down, heading towards the old church. And the fix here is to push it back 3 feet, which means the mid landing goes 3 steps higher.
Mm-hmm.
So yes, they're 3 feet away from the fence, but now that midpoint is 3 feet higher.
Which
And
could,
if that's,
No, I
and
understand.
so it's just an issue of that's the
Yeah.
fix, the easy fix.
Yeah.
but then there's people higher up looking down into your window.
And quite frankly,
That's
that
not our
fix is
problem.
cheaper.
No,
than
I'm
the
just saying
survey.
that there's,
Yeah.
it's part of.
No,
part
I
of the-
just thought if,
the outcome.
I have no thought of looking in someone else's windows.
Right.
So I don't know why people look over my fence. That's why a 6-foot fence is there. Anyway, that's, yeah,
Okay,
thanks for your time.
Thanks.
thank you.
Sure.
See what I mean? Raise this up.
I think I'm leaning toward the continuance, just so it's taken us this long to get here. If we didn't do the continuance, what would be the scenario in that case?
Well, we could take a poll of the board to see what their attitude is.
Sure.
Vote, and we would vote to either allow the building permit to be sustained and then we're finished, or we could reject the building permit. And then they would have to go and get a survey.
Sure. Does the measurement have any bearing, or that's up?
No,
Yeah.
we'd be accepting the prudence that Justin had as the building commissioner.
Sure, I see, okay.
I guess what we're trying to, I think the main takeaway is that if you wish to pursue tonight, the board will make that determination whether to keep the status quo or request a site plan to confirm. But that's not going to solve the privacy issue. So even if so the outcome is to get a site plan from the setbacks and move the staircase. But like say, if all of that happens, the net result is the doorway that's there now and a staircase coming down from that doorway, exactly as it is now, is going to be there.
Oh, I understand that.
So I just want, that's why we're trying to provide guidance that would you rather accept that this permit was issued with some discretion, knowing it may not technically meet the setbacks, and we all just kind of live with that reality, knowing that there's going to be no change in the overall outcome, or if you'd like to verify, which just to be open about it, the only way to technically verify, it should meet the setback. It should meet the setback. The only way to technically verify that is get a site plan and confirm it. And the board can make that determination. So that's really what, if you'd like to continue tonight, that's what they're gonna decide on. And if you'd like to continue and confer with your applicants. And that's kind of the decision, like at the end of the net result, can you accept the net result of, it's gonna be no change at
Oh, yeah.
the top of the staircase?
I mean, I think my goal is to get the dialogue started in a more constructive way, which I think we've started now. And honestly, I think without having gone through this before, that a continuance might help us. I could go with our group, which is 5 people actually altogether, and then get with David, Amanda, and see where we get. And then I believe we'd just be coming back in a month. Do we have full opportunity we can communicate in the interim, I assume?
With me?
Well, with the ZBA, as if we come to an interim
If you come to an,
agreement,
Yeah.
or a course of action that all the parties
Then you just withdraw.
all the parties would agree to, maybe it's a, whatever, we could get to a win-win or beneficial to both sides of the fence, that would be what I would try to do. So.
Yeah, and I think that's what Paul was trying to push to, or make sure you understood the outcomes. The outcomes, if it goes into the situation where Mr. LaPierre ends up moving the fence, after a plot plan and such, it may end up with a situation where the platform is actually higher.
Yes, sir, I do understand. that.
Okay, so I'm
I'm
just
an engineer by trade.
trying to make sure that.
I got it the first time you said that.
Thank you kindly.
I understood the 3 steps up. Intermediate platform would be higher. No, I get all that, and I understand that. I think I need to talk about it with everyone else and with Dave and Amanda, honestly. We would honestly, I mean, I had some potential positive outcomes, and one of them is kind of what we're talking about. One is getting a privacy buffer and some greenery. I know way back when talking to Dave and to Justin, we came to some, if not a lattice, then potentially some evergreen privacy buffer. So that's the road I'm envisioning at this point.
So are you then going to ask us for a continuance?
Yes, Joanne, I am. Yeah.
Thank you.
Okay, so do we need a motion on that?
Mhm.
Okay, so
I would like to move that we
Go ahead.
continue case ZBA 23-09 regarding the staircase at 960 Massasoit Road until a date certain, which would be December 7th of this year.
December 7th.
I'll second that.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay,
Second.
all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
So just to be clear on this, don't we require any additional paperwork to be submitted the Thursday of the week before? So if there was any other collateral that you wanted the board to be able to look at,
Mhm.
you would need to be submitting it to Paul and his team no later than November 30th.
Yeah, I'm sorry, what was the date?
November 30th is a,
1 week front.
right. I'm
Absolutely.
sorry, yeah, November 30th, 1 week before December 7th.
That's great. We'll have time then to talk to Dave, Amanda, the board, and some of those documents we were talking to earlier and so on, we could see what we have. So. Great. Well, thank you much, everyone. Thanks everyone for being here.
Okay, all set. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
Hey. Okay, so why don't we move on to case number ZBA 2023-10-10, excuse me, for 305 Nauset Light Beach Road. Map 23, parcel 23-18. Timothy Baker, owner / applicant, seeks a special permit pursuant to Massachusetts General Law, Chapter 48, Section 6, and Eastham zoning bylaw, Section 19.2, parentheses, non-conforming uses, buildings and structures, parentheses, and section 7.2.4, parentheses, setback requirements, parentheses, to increase pre-existing non-conforming west side setback distance by relocating dwelling to 2 feet from the property line due to coastal bank erosion. Vote may be taken. Okay, seated on this case will be Bob Sheldon, Brian Ridgway, Joanne Verlinden, Martin Ridge, and myself. And I guess our next step on this would be to have a little presentation of this situation by Mr. Zender. Thanks for coming, Ben.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Bruns. My name is Ben Zender and it's nice to see you all again. I don't seem to see you enough these days. I'm here on behalf of, but it gets cyclical. Sometimes you're in a town a lot and sometimes you're not. So, but I'm here on behalf of Tim Baker, who owns the property at 305 Nauset Light Beach Road. And this is a case similar to cases that you're seeing coming up more and more often these days because of the coastal erosion along the Atlantic coastal bank. What Tim wants, and there's an existing structure there that had previously had a variance to relocate. The existing structure is almost conforming as to setbacks. It's about 23.7 feet, I believe, looking at the plan, and it's but it's not conforming, and it's been submitted to Justin for a determination of the required relief, which is a special permit. Sorry, the structure is, it's 23.5 feet from the rear line. The proposal is to move the structure almost all the way back. Almost all the way back to 2 feet off the property line to try to get as much time and space as possible to be away from the coastal bank. As you're aware, these are usually presented as variance applications. This case is a special permit, so the standard is not substantially more detrimental. It's the same structure. It's being moved back, it's being lifted up, it's being relocated. I know Mr. Bruns particularly will be pleased to know that we've had some very constructive conversations with the neighbors before we got here. And Attorney David Reed, who's on the line, represents the abutters at 325 Nauset Light Beach Road. And we've presented through your planning staff a series of conditions that we hope will make this project less troublesome to the abutters to the rear. And so I'll leave my presentation there. I think it's a pretty standard application. Any questions you have, I'll try to answer them if I can. Thank you.
Okay, thanks a lot, Mr. Zander. Any questions from the board? Anyone? Was the house really first moved in 1998?
Yeah, I believe it was. Yeah, at least that's the date of the decision. I don't know how soon after that it was moved.
Yeah, and I saw some of the documentation was, this looks like a repeat.
Looks like there was some pipes sticking out of the bank from where the house used to sit.
Yeah, I think so. And it's a significant bank. I mean, as you all know, that section of the coastal bank is very high. So you don't want your house to go.
About 40 some feet.
Oh, I'm surprised it's that low. I've been out there in a while, but it's big. Yeah. So, and David and my brother David Reed's here to address any concerns of his clients as well.
Is Mr. Reed available to comment on the abutters opinions?
Yes, Mr. Chairman, thank you. Attorney David Reed from South Yarmouth, representing William and Ava Sheridan of 325 Nauset Light Beach Road. Excuse me. Naturally, they wish this were not necessary, but they do appreciate Mr. Baker's predicament. We've met at the site. We've gone over the existing house, the proposed location, and the impact that it will have on the Sheridan's property. Were there any other circumstances, we would naturally not be agreeable to moving it to only 2 feet from the property line. But we've come to an agreement where we think the conditions we've suggested and Mr. Baker and his attorney have agreed to would go as far as they can to protect the Sheridan property. I would note a couple of points just for your edification. you will note that there's currently an exterior stairway and a second floor entrance into the house. Those will be moved, the doorway will be removed, and the stairway will be moved to the other side of the house, the east side, as part of this relocation, which is beneficial to the Sheridans. In addition, it's not really addressed in the application or the staff materials, but the plan is to remove the foundation from under the house, and the new house will be located on piles instead of under a foundation. But the height and elevation will remain the same, so the view at least is not any more obstructed by the change in the house itself. It's just about at grade. It's sitting very low to the ground right now. We would appreciate your inclusion in any decision you make of the 6 conditions that are recited at the end of the staff report in paragraph 8 on page 5 of the staff memo. We feel those are all important to the Sheridans and to protect their property. And if you're inclined to grant the special permit as requested, we would ask that you incorporate all of those into the decision of the board. Thank you.
Thank you very much. That was a good synopsis. Does anyone have any questions on the location of the new location, the construction? Are there any other outbuildings that we need to be aware of? Sheds, for example?
Well, there is an existing shed on the property that I don't believe is proposed to be relocated at this time.
Okay.
It's off to the side, isn't it?
It's off to the side.
Yeah.
It is off to the side, and it's as it's becoming more and more typical, it's located partially on the Cape Cod National Seashore property.
Mhm. Yeah.
It'll be removed at some point soon.
I don't see any problem. It's almost a case of necessity. And if the owners are lucky, they'll maybe get another 10 years. But given the rate of coastal erosion these days, which has gone from 3 to 4 feet a year, depending on wave action and nor'easters and winds, it's more like 10 to 12 feet sometimes.
Could be, I've seen 30 feet in a storm.
Yeah.
I've seen 60 feet
Yeah.
in a storm. So it just,
Yeah.
it's, my dad used to say, you don't buy land out there, you lease it.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah. And I think it's a kind and generous of the neighbors to agree that even though they don't like the proximity of being within 2 feet of each other on at least at the setback property line, that they agreed that it's a
Yeah, I'd like to-
necessary thing.
With the chair's permit, I'd like to publicly thank David and his clients for this. I mean, I've been involved in 2 other projects on this same road
Mhm.
in the recent past, both of which involved appeals by
Abutters.
abutters, one of which was a while ago, which ended up with the project being abandoned by the client, and they ended up removing their house and not enjoying it anymore. And one which, thankfully, so we were able to negotiate and work out an arrangement with the neighbors. But for Mr. and Mrs. Sheridan to do what they did here was very generous, I
Mhm.
believe.
Sure seems that way. Marty?
Yeah, no, I think the only discussion would have been about the impact on the neighbors, and I think with the agreement of the neighbors here, I have no other questions.
Anyone from the public on it that we're just missing that wants to discuss this at all? Otherwise, I'll close the session for the public discussion and move on. Okay, any other internal discussion that we need to have on this before we go into the findings of fact?
I was just curious as to whether the Sheridans want a sort of a chit, a good neighbor chit, so when their turn comes.
Turnabout is fair play.
Well, hey, they were nice, when their turn is gonna come, I mean, just as we discussed, and it may be 10 years from now, it might be next year.
Mhm.
Hopefully another board.
It would be-
30 years from now, can we say that?
It'll be another board, but on the other hand, it just, they've earned a chit.
Yes.
Okay, that's on the record.
On the record.
Okay,
One last question,
Yes, sir.
septic system changing or moving or getting upgraded?
I'm sorry, I don't know the answer to that. I think they're going to have to the extent that they're moving any components, they're gonna have to comply with the Board of Health regulations. It's probably, if they haven't achieved it already, they'll probably have to have a variance for property line setbacks and maybe the septic setbacks, but I don't know the
I read
specific
that.
answer to that question.
I think I can add something to that, Mr. Chairman.
Yes, go ahead, please.
There was a discussion about that at the Conservation Commission hearing a week or two ago. The site is partly serviced by a tight tank. And the representation was made that that's going to stay where it is, which is in the driveway on the street side of the house.
Right. Oh, yes, okay.
Good.
Thanks.
Okay, that helps with that. Thank you. Any other questions, Jared, Marty?
No.
Ryan? Okay, why don't we move on to the proposed findings of fact and Mr. Sheldon, would you do us a favor and read that, please?
Proposed findings of fact.
Hang on, here we go. The zoning board of appeals finds that 1, the property is located at 305 Nauset Light Beach Road and is located in District F, which is the seashore. The applicant has applied for a special permit pursuant of Massachusetts General Law, Chapter 40A, Section 6, in Eastham zoning bylaw, Section 4.4, nonconforming uses, building structures, and the Section 19.2 special permits, or in the alternative, a variance pursuant to Massachusetts General Law, Chapter 40A, Section 10, to relocate a single-family dwelling on a pre-existing non-conforming lot where placement will result in a non-conformity to required minimum setbacks due to coastal bank erosion. 3, the board will vote to grant the waiver from the providing building floor plans and elevations. No changes to the existing structure are proposed other than the placement of a new foundation or piles in this case, right? Okay. 4, the board will vote to grant a partial waiver from the Cape Cod National Seashore Building Area Computation Sheet requirement. 5, after an evaluation of all the evidence presented, the site, I'm going to say, is adequate for the proposed use in terms of size of proposed structure or use. No alterations are proposed for the dwelling. 6, after the evaluation of all evidence provided in this site, after an evaluation of all evidence presented, the site is suitable for the proposed structure to use with regard to the purpose and intent of the zoning district. The existing residential use is permitted in the district. The proposed relocation of the dwelling is subject to approval by the Cape Cod National Seashores / Department of Interior. Has that been done?
I don't believe that's true. And I don't believe that the relocation is subject to approval by the Cape Cod National Seashore. Did we put that in our narrative? Can't imagine we did. If we did, it was a mistake.
I don't know why it would be. That's why
It's not. No, the seashore, there is no approval under the zoning code.
Yeah, no, that's right. I think what we were trying to intimate was anything that's done is at the risk of the applicant.
It's at the risk of the applicant, and as you all know, I mean, the work can possibly subject the applicant to a revocation of the certificate of suspension condemnation, but there's no approval mechanism by the seashore. Seashore's only nexus to this would be the ability to weigh in and provide input to the zoning board, which I don't believe they have in this particular.
All right, so I'm going to nix item 6.
Well, we can strike the last
sentence.
And
Okay.
while we're briefly paused, I think just order, we didn't vote on the waiver before, so you should take that vote. Sorry?
Take out the last sentence.
Yes, but I'm jumping back to another item, number
4.
3.
Well, and 4.
Yeah, 3 and 4.
Yes.
You didn't vote. We missed that part. You need to vote to grant the waiver.
Can we do that?
The findings of fact.
Well, it says,
We should have done it before.
Oh, before.
That's all.
what says we'll vote, so we will vote afterwards.
Yeah, I thought that's
Just as
how I
long
took
as you
it.
take the vote and we'll
Okay.
record it.
All right,
Okay, yeah, I thought that was a lot of sequence.
all right, moving on. Number 7.
Excuse me, Bob, one more,
Yes.
while we're interrupting you. Should we mention the movement of the staircase in bullet 5? I mean, no alterations are proposed for the dwelling except the movement of the stairs, as we were just informed.
I think that's fine.
Except
Okay.
relocation of stairs.
Exterior stairway. what is it, to the, which, to the east side of the
Consider
house?
to the east side.
Okay.
All right. Number 7, the proposal does provide adequate management of traffic flow and minimizes the unsafe and harmful impacts within the site, as well as in relation to the adjoining streets and properties. No detrimental impacts to the traveled way have been identified. Nauset Light Beach Road and 8th Avenue are low volume, dirt, hard-packed roads used primarily by the property owners on the street. Number 8, after evaluation of all the evidence presented, the proposed structure is compatible with the surrounding land uses so as to minimize harmful impact or conflict with existing desirable neighborhood character, including views, vistas, and other aesthetic values. Sub-bullets. Prevailing character. The prevailing character of the neighborhood is lightly settled residential neighborhood in the Cape Cod National Seashore, comprised of several pre-existing non-conforming dwellings and similar architectural designs. The neighborhood maintains a traditional feel with numerous seaside dwellings on small non-conforming lots. Bullet 2, height and scale. Proposed home relocation does not add to the height of the existing structure. The project will provide detrimental impacts to the views and vistas of the abutting property at 325 Nauset Light
May
Beach
not
Road.
provide. Will not provide.
Says may provide, it might.
Which is the truth.
Well, what do we want to do there?
But it's supposed to be made. Okay, all right, I'm sorry.
You're just acknowledging a truth there. It's a finding of fact.
Okay. Massing. No changes to the appearance of the dwelling are anticipated from 8th Avenue and Nauset Light Beach Road or most adjacent properties. The relocation of the dwelling close to the rear setback may create a feeling of greater massing to the property at 325 Nauset Light Beach Road. Setbacks. The dwelling is pre-existing non-conforming to the rear setback and the side setback, western portion of the lot. The relocation of the dwelling will maintain the non-conformity to the rear setback. What? Relocation will no, it won't.
No, it's the non-conformity. So it's non-conform.
Front of the lot is on 8th Avenue.
Going to maintain the non-conformity.
And will increase the non-conformity.
That's what
The second part.
that's not what it says.
So if I may, so the rear setback on the property, I believe, is currently about 10 feet.
Right.
That's going to continue to be 10 feet.
Well, maybe my problem is deciding what's rear.
So I believe the house fronts 8th Avenue.
Mix that up.
The southern lot line.
The southern
You think that's the rear?
I believe so, yes. I
You,
think that
you enter the lot on 8th Avenue,
8th
so
Avenue.
your side
Fine,
setback
fine.
is to the west and,
Yes.
and your rear is to the north.
Yeah.
Can we change that from rear
southern?
to, let's put locations there then. Right? The side setback, western, rear setback is south, right? The rear setback is the south setback?
The rear setback is the north setback.
Guys are killing me
The rear
here.
setback should be the south side of that property lot.
Yes,
The side setback that faces 325
Is
Nauset Light
western.
Road is the west setback.
West side, right.
The east setback faces
The ocean.
bank of the
Going back
ocean.
west towards
Yes,
that.
and the side that faces 8th Avenue is the north.
Right,
side
the
of
driveway
property.
side, the north side.
North side of the property.
So
the back is the west.
Right.
Okay, so the relocation of the dwelling will maintain the non-conformity to the rear setback, the south setback,
yes,
and will increase the non-conformity on the side setback, the west setback,
correct.
from 23 feet to 2 feet. Building materials, no changes are anticipated. Well, that was hard work. Ready? Okay, number 9. The proposal does have adequate methods of sewage disposal, sources of potable water, and site drainage. The applicant must confirm to the Eastham Health Department that the existing septic system is compliant with the applicable regulations. The home is serviced by well water. No site drainage issues are anticipated. 10. The proposal does provide adequate protection and maintenance of groundwater quality and recharge volume and the water quality of coastal and fresh surface water bodies. Relocation of the dwelling will be close to the existing well The applicant and the owner of 325 Nozzle Beach Road have agreed to conditions to protect the well. No negative impacts were identified. Number 11, the proposal does provide adequate provision for utilities and other necessary or desirable public services. The site is serviced by electrical, telephone, cable, and data services adequate for residential use. No detrimental issues have been identified. 12, artificial light, noise, litter, odor, and other sources of nuisance or inconvenience will be adequately controlled. The proposed project may result in nuisance issues to the dwelling located at 325 Nozzle Lake Beach Road. The applicant and owner of 325 Nozzle Lake Beach Road have developed specific conditions of approval to address potential concerns, and these conditions have been provided. They're down below here. Is that what they are? Okay. Item 13. The proposal does provide adequate protection from degradation and alteration of the natural environment. No negative impacts are identified. Really? Okay. 14, the eroding soil conditions are impacting the shape of the lot as land area is taken away from the upland portions of the lot. 15, after an evaluation of all the evidence presented, the proposed project will be substantially more detrimental, can't change it on me, not be more substantially more detrimental to the neighborhood or the public welfare than the existing non-conforming structure. Okay, 16, abutters in interest. Do we have any abutters?
No abutters, but the attorney for
The
them.
attorney represented 325.
I'm gonna say appeared in favor.
Mr. Reed, did you, how many abutters do you represent?
Just one, just the Sheridans.
Okay,
One, thank you.
okay, and have we received any letters? Okay, letters, okay, 0 and 0. So abutters of interest, 1 appeared in favor and 0 appeared in opposition, and no letters were received on this case.
Thanks.
All
Bob.
done.
Thank you,
I
Bob.
move we accept the verbalized by Mr. Sheldon.
I second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Why don't we now jump to the
How
two
about-
items, the
Well,
waivers?
yeah, before we go on to the proposed conditions, I'd like someone to please put forth the motion to grant the waiver number 3 from providing the building floor plans.
I would like to move that we grant both waivers, number 3 and number 4.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. So moved. Thank you, Joanne.
Mhm.
Okay, on to proposed conditions. Let's see, seated. How about that, Brian? Can you read the proposed conditions, please?
Proposed conditions. Number 1, no building permit shall be issued until the application complies with all pertinent sections of the Town of Eastham zoning bylaw. Number 2, the applicant shall obtain a building permit from the Eastham Building Department prior to the start of the construction. Number 3, the applicant shall verify bedroom count and septic design for adequacy with the approved plan with Eastham Health Department, and if necessary, shall obtain Board of Health approval prior to issuance of a building permit. Number 4, all exterior lights shall be down shielded to reduce light spill and nuisances to adjacent properties. Number 5, the applicant is responsible for providing building plans to the Eastham Building and Fire Departments. Plans shall contain information on construction methods and materials sufficient to conduct a full code compliance review. 6, plan reviews conducted by the town staff as part of the site plan approval has been conducted for conformance with applicable sections of the zoning bylaw and for adequacy of the site for public safety, access, and environmental impacts. Additional plan review for health and safety code compliance will be required and may result in changes to the approved plans. Any changes to the proposed site plan dated July 21, 2022, with latest revision date of August 19th, 2022, except those that are de minimis, must be reviewed by the board. If the board finds a change to be substantial, renotice is necessary for a new hearing.
Sorry, Brian, could I interrupt? Just slight change. The correct date is revised as of August 15th, 2023.
August 15th?
Yes, 2023.
Yeah, thank you. Number 7, The board reserves the right to monitor the ongoing construction for compliance with the approved plan. Actually, it's a relocation, isn't it? Not construction.
Right, you're correct. It's just the boilerplate.
Okay, number 8. The following conditions have been provided by the applicant in cooperation with the owner of 325 Nauset Light Beach Road. Number 1.
It should
Before
be
any
A.
work is commenced, the boundary line between 305 and 325 Nauset Light Beach Road, quote, MLBR, unquote, shall be freshly restaked by a land surveyor, and a snow fence or similar barrier shall be placed on the lot line and maintained throughout construction to ensure everyone's awareness of its location and to ensure that all work occurs only within 305 and LBR. Number 2, the work on the 305 and LBR house relocation or related exterior work shall not occur between Memorial Day weekend and Labor Day weekend. Number 3, none of the trees and vegetation on 325 and LBR property will be damaged during or as a result of the construction / relocation work. Number 4, the road along these properties shall not be altered in the process and shall be fully repaired and restored to its pre-construction conditions before any occupancy permit is sought for 305 and LBR. Number 5, 325 and LBR well is located between the homes. The work must be done in such a manner that no damage is done to the well or its water supply. The owner of 305 and LBR shall be responsible for ensuring its integrity and for any corrective measures needed within 2 years after the completion of the relocation. The well for 325 and LBR must be located and shown on any conservation and zoning plans so that everybody knows where it is. 6, if 305 and LBR is sold or transferred before the completion of the project and the satisfaction of this agreement, the new owners must acknowledge and agree to the terms of this agreement prior to any transfer and written acknowledgement of the same provided by the owners of 325 and LBR.
May I make a small correction? In number 8, rather than numbering, we should use letters here. That's the typical way of noting. So number 1 becomes A, number 2 becomes B, and so forth. If that's agreeable.
Up to you.
I
Up to you.
if that's what you want to do, I don't have a problem.
Well, she's not wrong. It'd be
Yeah.
certainly easier to.
Understand.
Yes.
8A, 8B as opposed to 8-1, 8-2.
Right. So it would be A, B, C, D, and E.
And F.
And
Okay, thank you, Brian, for that. I'd like to make a motion that we approve.
no, you don't. You
I'd
asked
like
for
to
it.
ask for a motion that on the approval of the conditions as Brian has articulated them.
So moved.
And a second,
I'll second that.
all in favor?
Aye.
Okay,
Thank you all.
thank you. So I think we need a motion here to take a vote on this.
So, Mr. Chairman, I move that we grant a special permit for case ZBA 2023-10, 305 Nauset Light Beach Road.
Any seconds?
Second.
All in favor? I guess we do a roll count on this one, Bob?
Aye.
Brian?
Aye.
Joanne?
Yes.
Marty?
Yes.
And yes from me too. So that is definitely approved. Thanks, Ben.
Thank you all. Thanks, David.
Okay, I think that's it for our cases, correct? Let's go, nicely done. And Paul, I want to thank you personally for the Massasoit reset as opposed to the rabbit hole.
You're welcome. That's what I'm here for.
Thank you very much. Rabbit hole was well intended, but the wrong direction.
Okay.
The minutes.
If I may speak to that, Mr. Chair.
Yes, ma'am.
At the September meeting, we well, first of all, we have to approve the minutes for the September meeting, which included the workshop with Paul and Phil Burt.
Yes,
So let me make that motion that we approve the minutes for September 6th, 2023.
second,
Second.
Okay.
all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay, and then, 1 minute here, okay, who seconded that?
I did.
Thank you, Brian. All right. Also at that meeting, we approved the minutes for the April 4th, 2023 meeting. But when the minutes were, and this was my mistake because I made the motion to approve them. I failed to notice, I don't know how I did that, but I did. I failed to notice that when we moved to approve the findings of fact, we did not list the findings of fact. And when we moved to approve the conditions, we did not list the conditions. So to my way of thinking, if minutes are going to be accurate, we also have to have the specific things that we approved listed, as well as just the fact that we made a motion and took a vote.
They weren't, because they were read into the record.
They were in the record somewhere, right, Phil? They should have been in the minutes and they weren't, and I missed that, my mistake.
Right, so when, for that particular meeting, if you remember, that was the Bridge Road hearing where ultimately what ended up happening and transpiring, so why, for clarity as to why I left them out, was because ultimately the vote was rescinded. Mr. Sender actually kind of made a pleading case to the board to revote, and the case was actually continued. So when I put the minutes together, I didn't include the findings or the conditions because those weren't the ultimate findings and conditions on the case. Those were actually approved at the subsequent.
Yes, right.
meeting. So that's why they're not in there.
Right.
I think Joanne wants them in there for like record keeping purposes.
Yes.
Ultimately, they are, we can put them in there, that's fine, but they are also available, in the video too, so.
Right. I just would like to,
But didn't they change when we finally got to the final?
we had a second set
Yeah,
of both.
And that's, so that changed.
But these are two motions that I think ought to be specific, not just that we voted on something, but we ought to have an accurate record of what we voted on. Maybe I'm being picky, but
Well, no,
I
just
think
think
it ought to
that-
be
okay.
accurate.
No, it's,
So what I'm asking is that we amend that vote to include the specific findings of fact and conditions, even though we went on later to approve a second set of each.
which changed, yeah.
Yeah, which changed somewhat. So that's my motion to amend.
Need a second. Anyone? Go ahead, Paul.
With all due respect, I don't think it's necessary to do that. I think the minutes reflect what happened.
Okay,
You know how I hate to disagree with the board, but I just feel like,
no, that's fine.
and they've already been voted and approved and filed with the town clerk.
Okay,
My honest
So-
opinion is I don't think you need to do it.
Okay.
I respectfully
okay.
disagree.
I rescind my motion.
Thank you.
Well, it's good discussion. Thanks, everyone.
Okay.
Okay, any other new business?
I just want to mention a quick update. The zoning task force is diligently working on a lot of items, and we will be having a stakeholder charrette workshop on Saturday, December 2nd here at Town Hall. It's gonna be focused on, it's not really gonna be for general public. We're focusing it on the business and property owners in the Northeast Ham commercial corridor area, but the invitation is going to be extended to members of the ZBA, planning board, conservation, the regulatory boards and such. So all of you are invited and encouraged to come if you possibly can. It's going to be, it's an all day. It's an all day thing, 9 to 3, We will be having plenty of food and refreshments
At the library or?
at here. The library was booked,
Full dance hall.
unfortunately, so we'll have it here. We'll set up set up the whole room. And we're gonna have our consultant here and it'll be a good discussion. So there'll
Are
be.
there going to be movies and popcorn?
The menu hasn't been set, but there will be some breakfast and lunch, food available. And,
And nap time?
starts at 9 to 3. And we'll have, lots of background, so we'll be providing background on, what we're doing with the zoning, but also touch on what's happening with wastewater, the Route 6 planning, tea time, it all is interrelated, so we'll give plenty of background and then we'll discuss what we're trying to accomplish with the new zoning, and then there'll be some, group discussion, some hands-on things so people can actually see, we're gonna having some maps and layouts and things where people can push and pull and move things around so you can see if we do certain architectural design requirements, this is what it will look like. So
Like
building.
Monopoly,
massing-
we can move the little.
Kind of like
buildings.
that. Yeah, it'll be similar to that. So the invitation is extended. We'll be sending something out formally soon. But if you possibly can come on December 2nd, I hope you can.
I'd like to add one more comment on this. So, all the work that some of our previous board members did on the whole district of critical planning concern with the rezoning and a ton of work was probably 4 or 5 years ago. That laid all the groundwork for what we can put, what type of businesses we can put in what locations in that district. This now has come down to a situation of what do we want these things to look like? And that's what we're working on now, and particularly this task force. So this is a really, really great thing to be a part of the feedback process on this. And I also want to mention that I asked Brian Ridgway to join this task force. And this was really just in the spirit of what others have done prior to my chairman role, which is ask other people to work on some of these special projects to spread the knowledge around and raise up the whole competency of all of the board members. So, if there are other opportunities for other task forces, that kind of thing, be prepared, please, that I would be tapping you on the shoulder for it, most likely. But Brian has had quite a tenure with us, and I thought this would be something that he could really add a lot of value with. So he's agreed to join this task force. Now, this task force will likely start meeting weekly. So it's not like just, a bunch of people, shooting the breeze. This is going to be significant time commitment. And, I'm very pleased that he's agreed to do this. So from time to time, we'll probably ask him for a status summary of where we are, where we're headed. Thanks.